My name is Cara Ellison, and I live the dream. I write about video games for a living, or I used to, before I began living the second dream, I guess, which is writing the stories and characters for video games. But in 2014, I traveled all around the world in a year, and 600 people on the internet funded it each month so that I could write about the game developers I stayed with. You want to know if screens can help you. Well, I know screens can give you new worlds, virtual and real. In 1985, Donna Haraway wrote, "I'd rather be a cyborg than a goddess." It was the last thing she wrote in an essay entitled A Cyborg Manifesto, where she argues that we are all cyborgs now. We are all half technology and half organism. We are biological and technological. We exist on the internet and in meat space, which is this space. We exist in a constructed online reality and can order physical objects to be delivered to us from that reality, such as pizza. I think our generation all understands that we are cyborgs. We live our life in screens, whether we like it or not, and you can see me living my life in a screen right now. At the airport, departures and arrivals, at the checkout, a list of products and prices, at the gym and in hospitals. I once went to a gym in Japan where the treadmill would tell me, basically it was trying to tell me what kind of how many calories I was burning as I was running on the treadmill. And so it was telling me what food I just burnt off. And it was very discouraging because it was something like, oh, you've ran for like 2 hours and burnt off the amount of calories of a latte. So I was like, okay, well, never mind. But we are always online thanks to smartphones and tablets and laptops and games consoles. And yet many people in the older generation still argue that things on screens are not actually real. They argue that things thought of and distributed in cyberspace are not real and have no effect on the real world. As my friend Catherine Cross writes, the internet is real when it's convenient and unreal when it's not. It is real when we need to track our bank accounts or trade stocks, for example, and it is unreal when a bully writes a poisonous slur about you on Facebook. So whether you consider yourself a gamer or not, we have probably all at some time in our lives played a video game. And we all recognize the HUD, the HUD, head-up display, or status bar, and the method by which information is visually relayed to the player as part of a game's user interface. And it takes its name from the head-up displays used in modern aircraft. The HUD is frequently used to simultaneously display several pieces of information, including the main character's health, items, and an indication of game progression, such as a score or a level. Aren't smartphones our head-up display? And isn't it important to keep tabs on our well-being, on others' well-being, and how the world is turning with us in it? If you consider that every character inside a video game has a head-up display corresponding to them, and that video games are just a simulation of a reality, you could argue that the way that screens or technology are creeping into offline life is just part of our becoming more cyborg. We're becoming half human and half technology. We're becoming more instantly connected to others. And if we're all able to find voices through our cyborg connections that are similar to our own, won't we become less alone? And if we can find people more easily through technology, doesn't that mean that we can create our own mini systems within this changing world to support people like us? The answer is yes and no. Being part of the cyborg generation means that you can find people who can help you, but it also means that you will be standing on a network of precarious platforms that other people built only with themselves in mind. And I'll give you my personal experience of this. In 2014, a small digital platform popped up that solved a problem for me. It was called Patreon, and it enabled people to put money towards a person's creative output as a subscription. So every month, for example, one person could put out a piece of writing, or a song, or a YouTube video, or a cartoon up on the internet, and then the patrons would be charged for what they pledged for that month's creative output. So that would fund the next month's work. So it was like having an actual salary. And I'd spent my career writing for The Guardian, and Kotaku, and Rock, Paper, Shotgun, and PC Gamer, and Eurogamer, and The New Statesman, and everywhere, really, about games, and I was still broke and not making rent. And I'd become so popular. I had 20,000 Twitter followers. That means everything, right? It must mean I'm rich and famous. But you can't pay rent with Twitter followers, unfortunately. So I said to them, what if I did a gonzo trip around the world, left home to find the people who make weird games, interesting games from their houses, interview them about the creative process, ask them who they are and why they made things, just do the old Rolling Stone model of rock journalism, follow the band around, ask them what they think and why they're doing it. And everyone on Twitter yells at me to do it, so I still thought that no one would put money towards this weird adventure. But I put up the page and I said I would leave home if the pledges got over $1,000 per month, which is actually, I discovered, not really a price of a flight anywhere. It was over $1,000 in 2 hours, and I'd made myself homeless. So that was great, and I had to phone up my flatmate and be like, something happened on the internet. And it was an amazing journey. It was from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur, from Tokyo to Melbourne, all across America. I stayed with and spoke to the most interesting people making games. And all I had to do was write something really good, take some good pictures, put the essay up on Tumblr before the end of the month UK time, and then I'd get the money to go somewhere else next. So you see how the head-up display works? You can ask it to help you, and if enough people care about you, it can send you resources, and it can connect to people all across the world. The thing is, it's the scariest thing I've ever done. I was taking only one-way flights. I left one country for the next, sometimes only arranging to meet the next person a week before I got there. I risked people unsubscribing en masse if they didn't like my work, and being left stranded in a foreign country. But thanks to the network of readers I had made on the internet, all I had to do was ask for advice. I became part internet. I had no physical home anymore. My home was the internet, and wherever it wanted me to go next. I'm a cyborg. You're a cyborg. We are increasingly networking together like connector cables on a motherboard. When I was younger, I wanted to know that a woman could use technology, write about technology, and love video games. And there was no one there for me to identify with. But now, thanks to the head-up display the internet has given us, more women role models and companions are open to me than ever before. I heard this saying, be the person you needed when you were young. And I needed a fearless cyborg woman. So I became one, and here is my book about it. Thank you.